Global Publishing presents Cash Flow with Ron LeGrand.
Next is websites. Everybody needs a website. In our society today, if you don't have a website, you're subhuman. And unfortunately, many of the people who want to sell you a house want to see if you got a website just for credibility's sake. There's good news and there's bad news about websites. The good news is you don't need to worry about setting one up. We got it all done for you if you want to use it. It's all right on your Financial Freedom Network website. Most of you in this room have it. Many of you listening may not have it yet. We'll make sure you get everything you need to get to it, because the last thing I want to see anybody in this room spending their time doing is trying to figure out how to set up a website. That's not what you're best suited to do. You're best suited to drive traffic to that website and then harvest it when it arrives. A website should not be complicated. In fact, the more complicated it is, the less productive it is. Your website should be simple and remain simple, and there's only a few ingredients you need on this website. This website should be exclusively devoted to buying houses only. There should be nothing else on this website except a place for them to come sell their house. You better make a note. Nothing. You do not diffuse your prospect with other junk that takes their mind off of why they came. Never put buying and selling on the same website. That's two different websites. We've already got them set up for you. It's part of your FFN membership dues. There's no extra charge for it even. There will be if you want to load some houses, pictures and all that on there, but it's peanuts. Your website should always start with your home page. If you'll turn the page, you'll see a home page. And in fact, this home page belongs to Dennis Quattlebaum, who happens to be the president of the Financial Freedom Network. This is his real, bona fide, personal website to buy houses, of which Dennis has been doing now for 10 years. And he's one of the very few people that actually came to my training and went home and actually implemented it and didn't want to change everything. That's why he made over $250,000 his very first year part-time while running two other businesses. May also be why I chose him to run Financial Freedom Network and own part of it. He gets it. You can do, this is Dennis's website. Dennis runs Financial Freedom Network. Obviously, we printed his because I don't care what he has to say about it. I didn't need his permission. But no, we got it anyway. And look at it. It's so simple. There's your home page, and it tells all the reasons why the customer should do business with you. And that's all a home page is good for. It's a get acquainted page. This is what we can do for you. And on the next page, it has a place for the customer to start putting in the information on their house. Look at it. It's so simple. The customer starts by putting in their name, address, home, fax, and all of that information. And on the next page, it's the exact same questions that Pat Live will ask them if they actually were to call in. The customer is sitting there at no charge to you, filling in the blanks for you on a house they want to sell to you. And then Dennis, against my wishes, put another page on his website. Are you looking for a safe investment with a high rate of return? He's looking for private lenders on that same website, which I'm going to whack him for. I said, Dennis, I need a website to do it on. If you guys don't do anything but have a home page here, have the 2 pages Dennis has got, and one more thing, testimonials. As soon as you get testimonials from your sellers, and you should start collecting them, you post them right on the website. Don't put their phone numbers in them because people will call them. But post them right on the website. What others have to say about us. Now, you've gone to FFN and you've had them set up a website for you. Actually, the minute you turn on your FFN membership, your websites are already set up. You just have to activate them. by giving us a URL name. Or if you don't know a URL name, in fact, if you don't know what URL is, then just get on there and say, hey, what's my website going to be called? And they'll plug you in one until you change it. If you change it, they'll change it. Now, obviously, you've got to fill in some blanks on your copy here, but you'll notice the copy is all the same on the home page, isn't it? Could you use that identical copy right there on the home page? Yes, you could. It's all done for you. Now, you probably should not put Dennis's phone number on yours. Now, he won't mind if you do, but it's probably not a good idea. Look, the next page and the page after that. It's the exact same as yours. Do you see why your website's all done for you? All you've got to do is change Legend and Property Services to whatever you want up there. Put in your phone number, put in your contact information, and you're done. And pick whatever beautiful format picture you want there. There's about 10 different templates you can pick from. Can everybody do that? Good. Your website's done. Done. Now, what are you going to do? Unfortunately, a website's like a telephone. It is a worthless device till you plug it in. Setting up a website's not going to get you much traffic. You have to drive visitors to the website to make it productive. And there's two ways to do that. You can do that online and you can do it offline. It's simple to do it offline. You just put your website address in all of your publications, all of your whatever, all your business cards, on everything you got, with the exception of one thing. You're not putting your website on the yellow letter. And we'll discuss that when we get to it. So now you've got people going to your website because you've put it in print somewhere offline. Now you've got to do something to drive traffic to your website. Well, you don't have to, but why not? Why not drive traffic to your website online? And I'm not even qualified to teach that, but I can tell you I can sit here and give you 10 ways myself to drive traffic to your website online, and I don't even have a computer. That's not true. I have one. I just don't use one. I have a whole room full of them. I have a whole building full of them. But none of them are on my desk. You all know you can use search words. There's just tons of things you can do to drive traffic to your website. Some of you are very good at that. In fact, some of you ought to specialize in that. And I can tell you, nationwide, I got students all across North America buying houses from their website set up to attract sellers. Do not take it lightly. It has become a very, very, very valid way to do business with the consumer out there today. And look at it. It's all hands off. People are going to your website while you're asleep. They're filling in the property information sheet and they're pressing send. And you wake up in the morning and you got mail. And lo and behold, you did nothing to get this person to call you. It cost you nothing. And there's a deal that could get you $30, $40, $50, $60, $80, $100,000 just like that. Because the website was there. Go to goffn.com if you're not already an FFN member. Join. We are even giving you 2 months free membership now. And your website will be set up for you, and you can decide if you want to stay, and it's $199 a month after that. And it's the biggest bargain in the industry today, especially when you see all the other goodies that are on there for you. In addition to the 2 websites, you get one to buy and one to sell, and a great big intranet site just loaded with stuff. Okay, that's enough on websites, because truthfully, that's all complicated it has to be. It can be extremely complicated if you insist on being the internet geek yourself. If you insist on hosting your own website, which you'd have to be an idiot to do. If you insist on getting in all that grunt labor that some people think they're due to save 38 cents. Your website is nothing more than a place to capture names and information, and don't let it be anything other than that. You need one to buy and one to sell. But the next thing on our list is the most amazing discovery that's been made in our industry in 25 years on getting sellers to call you. It's called the yellow letter. It's such a simple device. It's so ugly it shouldn't work. It's changed the face of our industry. It's eliminated all of the stuff that we used to have to do and all the money we used to have to spend to get sellers to call us. It's made the business so easy. We can crank it up as we see fit, slow it down, target our market, and pretty much predict the response we're going to get before the letters drop in the mail. When we take this ugly yellow letter and we let Pat Live do the answering and email us the property information sheets the day or two after we drop the mail, it makes our life so easy simply because we now just weed through them, take the few that pass the pre-screening test, pick up the phone and call them, and go get the deed. The yellow letter can literally put you in a 7-figure a year per income easily, as long as you use it, you continue to use it, you tweak it where it needs tweaked, and you follow up and implement the deals that come from it. The yellow letter was an accidental discovery by John McNeil, the husband of Donna McNeil, who used to be my PA. For 2 years, Donna was my PA. For 2 years, she kept seeing testimonial letters come across my desk. It took Donna 2 years to ask, does this stuff really work? I said, yeah, Donna, it really does. You've seen the evidence. She says, well, how do I get involved? Donna says, I'm an employee, so I can go free, right? Wrong, Donna. To her credit, her and John went to all of our training. And a short time after that, they were out on their own. I made them my partners in Jacksonville buying houses, and for 2 years thereafter, John and Donna were buying houses as my partner. They go out and do all the work. And somewhere along the way, John sat down and he started scribbling a note on a yellow pad, thus the term yellow letter, and he sent it out to a handful of sellers or people who he thought might be sellers, and lo and behold, over 50% of them called him back, which was a fluke. Now, they didn't all have houses for sale, and John didn't buy half the letters he sent on houses, but he got an amazing response from an ugly yellow letter in a hand-addressed envelope. So he did it again. He got a very similar response. Then he did a larger number, and he got a similar response, and he did more. And then he told me about it. And pretty soon I was telling students other places about it. Next thing you know, it spread like the plague. And now all across America, this yellow letter is driving in business with predictable results. Once you understand this yellow letter, what it'll do and what it won't do, literally drive your entire business and ensure your success. There's some do's and there's some don'ts. And today, all you got to do is make sure it gets mailed. No longer do you even have to do the mailing. And I don't want anybody in this room licking stamps, stuffing envelopes, hand-addressing letters, hand-addressing envelope, or doing any of that grunt work that you will fight hard to keep within your house to do. I don't want any relatives doing it, especially not wives. If I get wind, gentlemen, that your wives are doing this, I'll personally take a 2x4 upside your head and cause blood. Ladies, if he encourages you or tries to coerce you into doing this, cut him off. The yellow letter campaign is so critical to your business. You want it professionally done. You want it done on time. You want it done right. In the first year and a half or so, I turned students loose and they were out there and they're trying to do it themselves. God, what a mess they made. Regardless of how I would stand up here and tell people to do the yellow letter campaign, they would always go implement or invent something to add to it because they could make it better. Regardless of how many times I would go through the instructions, slowly, painfully, with warnings, I would get yellow letters coming to class. Mine ain't working. And I'd take a look at them and puke. What were you hearing me say when I was speaking? Obviously, it wasn't what I was saying. There are key ingredients to this yellow letter, and if they're violated, the campaign will flop. And we're going to go through them. And then I don't want you to touch them, because we're going to do them for you, if you'll let us. If you'll let us. The yellow letter simply says, "Hi, my name is John McNeil. My wife is Donna. We'd like to buy your house at a blank to insert the address. Please call me at a blank to insert your phone number. John." That's all the yellow letter says. In handwritten note on a yellow piece of paper, like it came from a yellow pad, in red ink. The address must be in the yellow letter in the middle of the copy. And of course, the phone number must be at the end. That's the phone number that gets forwarded to Pat Live. The envelope must be hand addressed, not computer addressed that looks like hand addressed, but hand addressed, with a real trembling hand. There must be a live stamp on this envelope, and there must be a return sticky label on it, with an address on it, not a P.O. box. Inside of this envelope, there must be one yellow sheet of paper with nothing on it that I didn't just say, and nothing else added to it. Had a gentleman bring me a yellow letter envelope into a class one time. Said, "Miley, I just can't get enough people to call." So I took his envelope. Sure enough, his envelope was hand addressed perfectly. Stamped perfectly. Sticky label. Perfectly. So I open his envelope up, and here pops out the yellow letter, just like I told him to do. And then I look down and find his Remax card stuffed inside. The minute he stuffed his Remax card in my yellow letter, he destroyed the whole psychological reason it works. And here is that reason. When that consumer receives that yellow letter that's hand addressed with a live stamp, they will not throw it in the trash until it is opened. No one throws away a hand addressed letter with a live stamp on it. They got to open it first. Ergo, you've just defused the number one biggest problem in direct mail, and that's getting the letter open. Secondly, here pops out an ugly yellow letter that's handwritten. Nobody is going to throw the yellow letter away without reading it. Therefore, you just fixed the second biggest problem in direct mail, getting the letter read. Thirdly, many people who read the letter that says, "I want to buy your house," and there's my address of my house right in the middle of the letter, personalized to me. I'm thinking when I read this letter, several things. One, John and Donna rode by my house and they love my house. They want to buy my house. I'm honored. Two, they're not all that sophisticated because they can't even type. I got to call them. A large percentage of the people who receive the yellow letter will call. Not the majority of them, but a way larger percentage than any other direct mail piece on the planet. Many of them will call and say, "I don't have a house for sale, sorry." Okay, not a problem. Because you're not answering the phone anyway. Who's answering the phone? Pat Live, not you. Some of them will call and say, I've got a house for sale, and they'll want retail price for it. Not a problem. We'll just have to weed those out. And a few will creep through and they'll say, yeah, I got a house, and they'll give you enough information to make you know this is a prospect. This is why I sent the yellow letter. I didn't send 300 yellow letters to get 30 to 60 calls. I sent the 300 yellow letters to get to 2 or 3 calls that I want. The rest are just fodder till you get to the MIS boot camp where you're going to be trained to make $20,000 a month with all those people who don't want to, that you can't buy houses from, yet have a house for sale. Because you can sell those leads. It's a whole business. But for now, we're only interested in buying houses. So my job is to make sure the phone rings at Pat Live. And I'm going to do that by making sure that I get enough yellow letters out there to feed my machine. If I need more food, mail more letters. If I need better food, mail letters to different lists. If I need less food, slow down letters. If I want to go on vacation, don't send letters. If I want to go to boot camp, don't send letters. Unless, of course, I've replaced myself back home and they don't need me there anymore. By sending these yellow letters out every week, week in and week out, and I like Monday. I'd mail on Monday if I were you. Monday or Tuesday, either one. Do not mail on Saturday. Do not get your mail in Monday's mail with the rest of the pile. Most of our students are sending out anywhere from 200 to 500 letters per week. Driving their machine through the roof. And guys, I'm going to tell you, in the last couple of years, I've seen people make so much more money so quickly than in the years prior. And after tracking it down, I know it's directly related to the yellow letter. Because it solves that big, huge problem of, where do I find deals? You don't. They find you. But you got to let them know you're out there. So the campaign is super simple. Set up an account with Pat Live to take the calls. Probably be a good idea before you mail the letters. Go to goffn.com and set up an account to mail letters for you. They do it all now. There's a place right there where you go on there, and I'll give you the instructions here in a minute. They literally will do it for you. Decide how many you're going to mail. And then decide who you're going to mail to and order that list. And we're going to go over who to order it from, and there's some precautionary measures we must know about lists. Tell us how many you want to mail and when and to whom. And then Pat Live will send you the property information sheets back. And then you simply take them and you sift and sort through them. If you got 20 sheets in your hand from yesterday's work, you're going to have 1 or 2 or 3 calls to make. And you're going to go out today and get a contract to buy 1 or 2 or 3 houses. And ladies and gentlemen, it truly is that simple. Set up Pat Live to receive calls. Set us up to mail letters. Tell us when to drop letters to whom. Be prepared the next day and the day after to follow up. Come out of bed in the morning and go down past kitchen in your pajamas. Or not, I don't care. Get a cup of coffee. Got to have coffee. Won't work without coffee. Take coffee to computer room. Turn on computer. It says you got mail. Here comes all your property information sheets from Pat Live. Print them out. You go through them. Suspect, 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 prospect. Boom. You step 2 or 3 aside because you've been trained to spot them, and you will be. And you simply call those few who pass the test. You make an appointment with them that survived the call. You go get a contract, get your attorney to close it, and put it in the selling mode. You're beginning to see already why this is not a business that takes your time. You're going to spend more time getting trained than you are spending doing the business. Once it's done, it's done. If you let the system work for you, instead of trying to defease it all the time. We did an MIS boot camp in Phoenix last year. We mailed out 1,200 stinking letters. In Phoenix, at that time, was a hot market. We bought 5 houses before we left the room with over $250,000 worth of equity in them. And we wasted half the leads. We come to Jacksonville, the end of the year. We do it again. Mail out 2,000 letters this time. First house we get got $70,000 worth of equity in it. Several houses since don't even know. She's compiling me a report on that. Might even have it here. Thousands and thousands of dollars worth of free equity from 2,000 stinking yellow letters. Mailed once. I only mailed 2,000 to impress the audience with the calls. We got 700 calls from 2,000 letters. Many of which I took the first day of the event in front of the class. Boy, that got old quick. It ain't rocket science. And just for the record, tell me what else you can do. They'll drive in 700 calls for the price of 2,000 letters. Because we'll do it. Were most of those calls good ones? Nope. They were mostly junk. Most of them were junk. In fact, we only had a small percentage of that 700 callers have a house for sale. And we still got over $300,000 worth of equity last count. Man, look at all them letters these people wasted on me. The nerve of them. Look, you do whatever you want to do with this yellow letter. But I'm going to tell you, I've been around a long time, and I've never seen anything even come close. In my opinion, for you not to use it is foolish. I can't imagine how you can justify it. And by the way, if you've screwed it up once already, it's your fault. Go fix it. Do it right this time. Speaking of which, let's look at who we're going to mail to on the next page. You're always going to mail to pre-foreclosures. That's an easy list for you to get. But please be pre-warned. It's going to be the least amount of calls you're going to get is people in foreclosure. They're not very responsive. That's the bad news. Good news is they're good calls when you get them. But do not do all of your mailing to pre-foreclosures. Because you're not going to like the number of calls, and you're going to get all upset, and then I got to listen to you whining. Your letter ain't working. Yeah, it is. You ain't. Fix it. From day one, you were told, if you mail to pre-foreclosures, you're only going to get a few calls. But you only need a few to that type of list. See, that list is so much more targeted. I want you to branch out and pick at least 3 different lists that you mail to every single week simultaneously. One of those are probably out-of-town owners. You can get that list from list brokers, and you can get them through realtors. People who have houses in town but live out of town. Not hard to get. Good productive list. Expired listings, which you must get through realtor. Expired listings. These are people who had their house on the market. Sure, they're mostly unmotivated sellers, but there's some in there that are motivated. Bankruptcies, divorces, probates, and delinquent taxes are all a matter of public records. Wherever there's a public, there's a record. Wherever there's a record, you can get it. You're the public. There are people who sift and sort those databases that you can subscribe to. There are websites that you can get a lot of that on. And I can tell you for a fact that some of the list brokers nowadays you can get some of those from, like melissadata.com. I know they have bankruptcies. And I think they have other things like divorces. I'm not sure. Delinquent taxes, your city publishes. They have to publish them because they have tax sales. You can get that list if you just ask. Ask the tax recorder's office, how do I get a list of people with delinquent taxes? If they got delinquent taxes, they're probably folks who want or need to sell their house. At least they're worth sending a stinking little letter to. Zip code mailers is the opposite of pre-foreclosures. Zip codes are an easy list to get. They cost the less. They're cheap. They're cheap names. They're about a nickel. Any list broker's got homeowners in any particular zip code in any price range you want. They can segment down to how long they've lived there, how much equity they got, whether there's 2.8 people in the family or not, whether they own a potbelly pig. They can tell you all this stuff. And you can order only that list. And you have no clue whether they have a house for sale or not, so you're doing a much more massive shotgun mailer, but I like it anyway. And in fact, most of the letters we sent at our last MIS were to zip codes. That's why we got so many calls and so few with houses for sale. Now, if I send them to pre-foreclosures, am I going to get a lot less calls, but most of them got a house for sale? Please think through this list. Whom you mail to will determine the quantity of calls you get and the quality. I'm willing to mail to the zip codes knowing I'm going to get a lot of calls, most of them worthless, to get to the few that I want. You know the $70,000 equity I was just telling you about? That house was not even for sale. It was a zip code mailer. They just needed to go, and they needed to go now. They didn't want to bother listing it with a realtor. They knew it would take forever. And here comes this letter. I want to buy your house on your street. And I can't type. So I'm not all that sophisticated. So please call me and take advantage of me. Military owners. They're a great target. But they come with a warning, which I'll hit again later. You do not buy houses from people in the military if they are on active duty outside of this country without an attorney involved and without giving them plenty of time. And there are laws protecting them as well. There are also laws protecting the elderly, as they should be. You want to make sure that you're complying with the law, and that's why you have an attorney. List brokers, they're all over the place. There's a list of them in your book. Anytime you want a mailing list, you just get on Google and plug in what you want, and you'll get a whole page full of them. The list that I'm asking you to go get are easy to acquire lists for the most part. Here's how you get them done for you. Simple. Go to GoFFN. Or you go fight the battle yourself. Maybe you should go fight the battle yourself, go stuff and stamp a couple thousand envelopes, then go to FFN. Then you'll appreciate how much work these people do behind the scenes that you don't see. By the way, will it always cost you more for someone else to do this work for you than for you to do it?
Yes.
Directly, yes. Indirectly, no. If you try to do it yourself, you will save some pennies. You might save 50, 60 cents an envelope. I don't know. We'll come back to that later. We'll see if it's worth your trouble or not. I guarantee you it's not. But remember, if somebody else is doing this, well, I'll do it right now. Let's suppose you save 60 cents an envelope and you're mailing out 1,200 letters a month. You save $720 that month. Wow. Aren't you proud of yourself? I wonder how many deals you lost at $30, $40, $50, $60, $80,000 worth of equity in them trying to save that $720. Isn't it human nature to focus on the pennies and lose sight of the dollars? Kind of the way we were raised, wasn't it? Wasn't it? Because if it wasn't, we wouldn't care how much gas costs, would we? I want you guys to take the millionaire pledge with me right now. Okay? Everybody raise your right hand. I solemnly swear. From this day forward. I will focus on revenue. And force myself to let others do what they do best. So I have time to do what I do best. Make deals. I understand and agree. Broke people worry about pennies lost. And I must focus on dollars earned. If I don't want to be one of them. The less I do. The more I make. All right. You have all promised and taken the pledge. All right. Now here's a word on what not to put in any of your advertising. Number 1, never advertise that you will sell somebody's house. If you do, you appear to be a realtor without a license, and it may draw heat upon you. You have every right in the world to buy houses, and you have every right to sell them, but you do not have that right for others for a commission unless you're licensed. So do not put yourself out to make you look like you're licensed, and you should not have any trouble from those who are checking to see if you are licensed. You buy houses. You don't sell them for others. Never advertise yourself as a foreclosure consultant. You are not a foreclosure consultant, and in fact, in some states it is illegal for you to be a foreclosure consultant, and I can't imagine why anybody would want to be one anyway. If there's a business model that I would never want to duplicate, it would be trying to get money out of people who can't make house payments. That's not how you get rich in real estate. Don't ever hold yourself out as some foreclosure consultant sucking fees out of people to provide services for them that they could do themselves with a phone call or two. Don't advertise you'll pay finder's fees. It will only serve to attract heat from agencies who believe you're acting as a realtor. That's up to you, but if you do advertise it, which I don't really care, but if you do, you've got to be strong enough to fend off the heat. You are legally able to pay finder's fees to people for information. You're not performing one of the 7 functions of a realtor by paying somebody for information. However, do many realtors disagree with that stance? Of course they do. That's okay. It's their right. Never use negative comments about any other person or company. It'll only make you look small and scared. You don't win any points by downgrading your competition. Just sit around and wait for them to self-destruct. Don't advertise you'll buy a home and lease back to the seller. That's a huge no-no. We do not buy houses and leave the seller in them, and with the option to buy it back. There are many laws being proposed or passed against just that, because it is perceived the big hat rich investor takes advantage of poor dumb seller. Investor bails seller out. Investor solves seller's problem. Then seller don't keep their promise, and investor gets blamed. Now, of course, are there investors taking advantage of people in our business? You bet. Are there people taking advantage of people in every business? You bet. In fact, I wonder how many attorneys got disbarred last year. I wonder how many realtors lost their license. How many mortgage brokers forfeited their license. Show me an industry and I'll show you thieves. But in my opinion, for the most part, the problem is not the investors who don't keep their word, even though there are some. It's usually the consumer who doesn't keep their word and is looking for an easy way out. However, the law is the law. And when you buy a house from a seller and you promise that seller that they can buy that house back, you're setting yourself up for a problem. For one thing, I can't imagine why anybody would want to do that anyway. Because you can't make money on the house till you've sold the house. Can't sell a house with the seller in it. Oh, well, I'll go refinance it. Sure you will. Then you will break the first rule we discussed already. You don't personally guarantee debt. You don't get rich by buying foreclosures and refinancing them. You get in debt that way. And you create short-lived cash flow that's going to come back and bite you in the fanny. You want to buy a foreclosure? Fine. Get out of my house. Because if you're not going to get out of my house, you can't buy the house. Very simple. Then you won't get into a mess optioning it back. Don't make false claims you can't back up. There's no need for you to do so. I'm talking about in your advertising. But also don't be afraid to display and be proud of your unique selling proposition. Some people get upset when I say run your ad that says, I buy houses cash. Well, but we don't intend to pay cash. Oh, the heck you don't. If you pay cash, are you expected to buy it dirt cheap? Well, maybe not by the person selling it to you, but it's common in any industry that cash is king, isn't it? Yep. Anybody, I'll buy any house that anybody calls me with for cash if I can buy it at my price. Problem is, they usually owe more on it than my price. I didn't say in that advertisement, I will buy everybody's house that calls and pay you cash, did I? I say, I buy houses cash. Do I buy houses cash? Yes. Do you? Yes. Is that false advertising? No. No. When I put an ad out that says, lease purchase, owner will finance, does that mean that every human being that calls me qualifies for my owner financing? No. Doesn't mean I have to owner financing 100% of the purchase price. No. If I take back a note for $2,000, have I owner financed? Yes. If I don't do any owner financing because my buyer would prefer to go out of the bank and get a loan, am I still doing any false advertising? No. I do everything I advertise. I just don't do it for everybody who calls. So get that out of your head. It's your right and your responsibility to embellish. It is not your option to downright lie. So please don't confuse embellishment with lying in advertising. By the way, is any commercial ever run on television? The truth.